Dear EA and DICE, earlier this year you announced the newest game in the Battlefield franchise, Battlefield 5. And you guys got a lot of backlash, and you guys think it's for one reason. Only one reason why you're getting backlash, and that's because of the women. That's because you have a female in the game, and that's the only reason. It can't be because of a number of other reasons that have to do with it, but you just want to say, oh, it's because she has a vagina. Well, let me be the first to explain bit by bit by bit why we have a problem with this and get the message across the best I can. I am a big fan of World War II. I love World War II. I love learning about it. I love experiencing it through movies and video games. But what I don't like is whenever historical inaccuracies are added to an experience but never explained why they are added. And that's the thing. With Battlefield 1, you had a number of things that people called you out on. They said, oh, why is there a female character in the game? Oh, why is there a black man in the game? And guess what? You came back to us with actual factual evidence of why these things were added to the game. And guess what? The backlash dissipated. It went away because you gave us actual factual evidence. And that's what people care about. You guys pushed for being historically accurate year after year after year, especially with Battlefield 1. You said that you were going to be the most historically accurate series out there in retelling the story of World War I. And guess what? Why would we not assume the same for Battlefield 5? The game that comes after Battlefield 1. I know that numbering process is really stupid in my opinion, but I'm just asking, why wouldn't we assume that? So, whenever we see this lovely lady right here, she's very nice, and there's nothing wrong with what sex she is, but it's the fact that she's in World War II, where there was not very many female soldiers. Well, I mean, let's see what she has to say. Maybe she is from a place that had female soldiers on the front lines.
Hello, old friend.
Now, this is where we run into a small, teensy-weensy little problem. First of all, that accent. That is a British accent. And after this trailer came out, there was quite a few people that said that British female soldiers were not allowed to serve in World War II on the front lines. So, a lot of us out there went and did our research and found out this was factually true. And the best example and the best explanation I can give is from another fellow YouTuber, aka Rags, a channel with over 300,000 subscribers, and honestly one of the ones that I always look forward to uploading. Whenever he makes a new video, I usually am the first one to click it because I enjoy his content and I enjoy the perspective he gives on gaming. And he does a pretty good explanation of why this is, and honestly, take a listen.
Harmed by the prominence of female combatants on the front lines in World War II. Did it technically happen? Yes, nobody is doubting that it technically did happen to some degree, despite how tiny and minuscule that degree was. Let's just focus on the British here and keep things topical. All it takes is a quick searchy search on the Google machine, and you can go to Wikipedia and look up the women of World War II, and then go to Great Britain. The most common role of women in active service was that of a searchlight operator. While women still faced discrimination from some of the highly stereotypical older soldiers and officers who did not like women playing with their guns, women were still given rifle practice and taught to use anti-aircraft guns while serving in their batteries. They were told that this was in case the Germans invaded. However, if that were ever to happen, they would be evacuated immediately. More importantly, the article talks about the limitations. Whilst women were limited in some of their roles, they were expected to perform to the same standard as a male soldier performing the same role. That's not very feminist of them. And although they could not participate in frontline combat, still manned anti-aircraft guns and defenses which actively engaged hostile aircraft above Britain. Women went through the same military training, lived in the same conditions, and did almost the same jobs as men, with the exception of not being able to participate in frontline combat. Well, fucking scratch my ears and call me a good boy, Luke. That doesn't exactly sound like it fits in with the whole historical realism bit about the Battlefield 5 trailer. Do you think that
It sure doesn't, Rags, and honestly, that was the main complaint of the Battlefield 5 trailer. The historical inaccuracies. That's why people were upset. That's why people were frustrated. And honestly, if you guys came out with an explanation, a true explanation of why this character was in this game, and it made sense, then I'm sure that you wouldn't have gotten the backlash that you got. I'm sure that people would say, okay, that's a perfectly good explanation, I understand, makes sense. That's not what we got. What we got was a bunch of virtue signaling and excuses. And this started right soon after the announcement of the trailer. It started immediately with one of your developers going on Reddit and posting this comment. I knew this was going to be a fight whenever I pushed for female soldiers in Battlefield. I have a daughter and I don't ever want to have to answer the question of why can't I make a character that looks like me with because you're a girl. I fundamentally feel to my core that this is the right way and I will find myself on the right side of history. And I think that many people who play this game, despite their reservations, and maybe learn something about either history or themselves. This is part of making games art. Okay. Oh, let's talk about the first section of this comment. The why can't I make a character that looks like me? Well, let me say this. I play many different video games, and many of them I can't make a character that looks like me. I can't make a fat 325-pound male with a neck beard and so on and so forth. And guess what? Do you see me complaining? No, because video games are a way to escape reality. They are a way to also be art, like you said. And one of the best things that they can be is a learning tool. A learning tool about the struggles of World War II, about the devastation of World War II, learning from our mistakes in the past so we don't repeat them. And that is what World War II was. And the fact that you're bringing your daughter into this, to use her as a shield, in my opinion, this is using your daughter as a shield. I'm sorry. Saying, why can't I make a character that looks like me? Well, one, if your daughter is asking that question, then that means that she is not old enough to play this game. That sounds like a question that a 9-year-old or maybe younger would ask their parent. And honestly, a 9-year-old shouldn't be playing a World War II shooter. I'm sorry. Did you see the violence and gore that was going on in this trailer? She shouldn't be playing it. So that is basically you using your daughter as a shield to get out of the way of criticism. Don't do that. Secondly, you said that you are going to be on the right side of history. Well, let me kind of argue against that. So you're basically saying you are doing forced diversity to be on the right side of history. Well, here's the thing. History's already been written with World War II. History has already been made with World War II. And whenever it comes to Battlefield games, a lot of people look towards historical accuracy. And in the history of World War II, there were no female handicapped soldiers. No, not on the front lines at least. And that's the problem. You cannot rewrite history to fit your agenda. That is why people are pissed off, because you're trying to rewrite history to fit an agenda that people don't want to deal with, and you're trying to appeal to customers that do not support your games, who have not been there and are now just saying, we want this, and guess what? That's not going to improve your numbers. That's not going to improve the number of games that sell because you have a female character. No, all this is going to do is have the extremists come out and say, We got them to change, and we got them to add women to Battlefield. Inclusion, diversity, yada yada yada. And guess what? Those people that pushed you to do so are not going to buy your game. They're doing it to force diversity and tricking you into forcing diversity, because then you think your numbers are going to be better. But guess what? You are down 85% on pre-orders because you continue to virtue signal and attack the people that are truly fans of your games. You continue to push away the people that care about this franchise, the people who want to support this franchise. But the problem is that you will not give us answers like you did with Battlefield 1. And that is why we are frustrated. That is why so many people have come out and talked against Battlefield 5. And you know what's sad? I don't like Battlefield 5's, diversity forcing agenda, and I don't like Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I'm not going to buy either game. I'm not going to give Activision my money because I don't want the game. I don't like, the Advanced Modern Warfare BS. I don't like it, or Advanced Warfare BS. I don't. But the thing is that I also don't like basically virtue signaling agendas being forced into a game that is supposed to be about a war that truly happened. And if you were making a game that is a alternative reality of World War II, then just say it. Just say it outright, because guess what? There are games that have done that have been successful. Look at Wolfenstein 2. Very successful game. Wolfenstein 1. Very successful game. It's all been successful, and they said it's an alternative reality. This is World War II. You can either say it's an alternative reality or we're going for realism and seriousness. You can't have both. The problem is that you set the precedent. You set it up for what it was supposed to be. You set the precedent with Battlefield 1. You set the precedent with all the previous Battlefield games, pushing for realism and accuracy. That's what you pushed for. Even in Battlefields 3 and 4, they were accurate to the timeline of when they take place. They are individual stories, but that was explained to us. It wasn't based off of a war that was happening right then and there, and basically it was accurate to when they take place. This game is World War II, something that happened, and that's why whenever you had the last game, Battlefield 1, that set a precedent for basically what a Battlefield game is, historically accurate, fun, immersive. When we get Battlefield 5, we're just sitting there saying, what happened between Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5? And no, I'm not talking about all the games that supposedly came in between that have been released before Battlefield 1. Now let's talk about the second controversy that you guys started on your end to basically push back against the consumers by saying, if you don't like it, then don't buy it. Well, guess what? This one really bit you guys in the ass because they didn't. They didn't buy it, and you guys are down 85% on pre-orders compared to Call of Duty. Good job. Honestly, to me, it's sad because you are literally saying fans of ours that we have supported for years and have supported us for years, go away. Because we're not going to give you a actual answer of why there's a British female soldier. No, we are just going to say, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And guess what? They chose to vote with their wallets, which I'm extremely proud of, and they are deciding to go buy other games. And it seems like a lot of them are going towards Call of Duty. I would prefer that they went towards other games like Red Dead Redemption 2 or anything else, but it seems like Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is the better of two evils. I feel fucking disgusting and dirty even saying that, but at the time, both games suck, and people are choosing the game that isn't trying to virtue signal or force an agenda down their throat. So let's talk about the latest controversy coming out of DICE and EA, them saying that they wish they had added women in Battlefield 1. Well, let me just say this. You did have women in Battlefield 1, but here's the difference. It was historically accurate and it made sense for when they were added. The DLC that you had later on in the game, the multiplayer DLC, made sense to have female soldiers in it because of the storyline you were telling through the multiplayer, which was done very well in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinions. But the problem is we can tell the difference of when we're being told a story that makes sense and when there's forced diversity and virtue signaling. And that's what we're sensing. That's what we're sensing every time you guys speak, every time you are posting, we can sense it. Because your consumers are not dumb, EA. Your consumers are not dumb, DICE. We know when we are being pushed an agenda. I've got no problem with women in Battlefield. I have no problem at all with it. It's the historical accuracy that matters. And I guarantee you the majority of men do not care about women in gaming. Some of my favorite protagonists, like I said in the beginning of this video, are women. And I listed those off in numbers. But here is what bugs me, is when I'm being forced an agenda. When I'm being pandered to. I do not like that. I do not enjoy that. It's like what happened recently with the WWE. As you all may know, a couple of months ago, WWE announced that they were going to do their first ever all-women's pay-per-view called Women's Evolution or Revolution or whatever it is called. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they announced this pay-per-view and that's perfectly fine. Good for you. You have an all-women's pay-per-view. You're supporting the female talent. Good for you. But what I didn't like was all the virtue signaling and message pushing down my fucking throat. It seemed like every segment of SmackDown, every segment of Raw had this agenda being pushed down my throat of, look how good we are, look how much we support our women, women, we're supporting them, blah, 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 blah. I didn't like that. And guess what? I turned off my TV and said, I'm tired of having an agenda pushed down my throat. I'll watch later, whenever they're done with their promotional bullshit. I think I've made my status about this situation totally clear, and honestly, I think I've done it pretty well. But you know what? There's something worse than what they're doing, and that's hypocrites. I don't like hypocrites. And one of the biggest hypocrites right now about this whole situation is Angry Joe. When he's talking about Call of Duty World War II, he'll say this.
There's customization for your guns and soldiers. They even throw historical accuracy right out the fucking window and put women on the actual front lines of battle outside of the French resistance fighters and the British Special Forces, which, yes, actually happen. There were women in combat, but I don't recall there ever being black female German soldiers as Nazis slaughtering GIs in World War II.
But Joe, what happened to it being all-inclusive? What happened to all... Oh, I know why. It's because you're a Battlefield fanboy.
But then, whenever it comes to Battlefield 5, he will say this.
No women in World War II, in my fictional World War II. Ha 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 to EA. Victory for Not My Battlefield, hashtag MAGA, Red Hats. Victory for, against social justice warriors. But is it really that? Is those segment of people who don't want women in there, who want a extremely historically accurate World War II experience in Battlefield 5, is that really what translates into the most lost revenue?
See, that to me comes off as hypocrisy. And Joe, if you tune in later tonight on the RFC Live podcast, little shout out there, we'll be talking about Angry Joe and covering his hypocrisy. Tune in later tonight, but thank you guys for watching, and as always, GamerJlee signing out.